Hi, I'm Kelly Berger. I play for Team USA and also coach Division I Women's Lacrosse at UMBC. And this is my brother.
Hi, I'm Steven Berger. I play professionally in the Major League Lacrosse for the Long Island Lizards, and I'm a member of Team USA.
Growing up in Maryland, lacrosse played a major role in our lives. We played as kids, and then we went on to play in college and on post-college teams. Thanks to supportive parents, coaches, athletic trainers, and teammates, we've been able to raise our game to the highest levels in the sport.
And we know that in order to play at your best, it's important to make safety a priority, especially when it comes to protecting your head.
While there is a risk of injury in any sport, you need to understand that there's a possibility you could get a concussion. Most athletes don't like to talk about concussions in a serious way. But the fact is, if you want to play a long career and lead a healthy and productive life, you need to know the facts.
You know, when we started playing sports, everyone looked at concussions as minor injuries. They were just getting your bell rung. If you got your bell rung, you shrugged it off and continued to play. Now we know concussions are not a laughing matter. Concussions are serious injuries. We need to pay attention to the risks and consequences of these invisible injuries.
We've asked some concussion experts and members of the U.S. Lacrosse Sports Science and Safety Committee to join us in giving you a crash course in concussions. Pay attention. Whether you play boys or girls lacrosse, this information will help you stay safe in the game.
The word concussion comes from the Latin word concussus, and that means violently shake. So basically that's what a concussion is. The brain is quite violently shaken inside the skull.
And I think the one thing you have to understand about concussions is that size doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're the biggest or smallest player on the field or what position you play. Anyone can get a concussion.
If in doubt, sit them out.
Signs and symptoms of concussion are really varied, and it's important to recognize that not only are they varied, but they can change over time.
You feel like you have to get up and keep playing, but you know something isn't right. You feel like you're a little confused. Maybe your vision's cloudy, there's some dizziness that goes on.
You know, when dealing with a concussion, you may have symptoms that last for a couple days, or potentially you may not have any problems, and then a couple days down the road, you have a headache, you feel dizzy, or even nauseous. Anytime you have symptoms like that, you've suffered a concussion and you need to seek medical attention right away.
The best marker of the severity of a concussion is not exclusively how many symptoms or how severe they are, but mostly how long they last, although all three are important.
In summary, concussion symptoms are varied and can be grouped into 4 categories. Physical symptoms, including headache, dizziness, and nausea. Cognitive symptoms, including problems with memory, attention, and feeling slowed down. Emotional symptoms, such as sadness, irritability, and feeling nervous. And finally, problems with sleeping.
I think with concussion, there are age differences. I think we're concerned that our young athletes may recover more slowly than our adult athletes from the same concussion. And we're also concerned that young athletes may be more easily concussed than adult athletes. So on both scores, we're a bit more conservative with our young athletes than we are perhaps with an adult.
You need to be smart, you need to be honest, you need to tell someone.
You know, in high school, I can remember getting concussion during basketball season, and it actually lasting through to the start of my spring lacrosse season. And it was a little tough for you to sit out that first part, but I had to make sure I was 100% before I got back on the field. And that included talking to my parents about it, talking to trainers about it, doctors, and even believing in myself that I was okay to go back on that field.
Athletes inherently want to play, and I think they oftentimes will minimize their symptoms.
If a player is symptomatic, they should not be playing at all. That player should be sat until that player is symptom-free, both at rest and when we physically exert them.
One of the things that's important is rest. So not only physical rest, but also mental rest. And I think we sometimes minimize, what a kid will oftentimes go home and watch TV or start using the computer, and things like that are considered taxing. So you want to try to avoid some of those things. It's also important to avoid alcohol, avoid other types of medications or drugs that would affect your brain.
If in doubt, sit them out.
If you have a concussion and you get the proper medical attention and you let your injury heal correctly, you should be able to go back and play lacrosse. It's just like any other injury, but it needs to be diagnosed and it needs to be healed.
I think is important. Being able to look in their eyes and just get a sense that they're dazed, they're confused, they're having difficulty. When you ask them questions, they're slow to respond. You can tell that it's just taking them a little bit of time for them to answer your questions.
A coach that's unsure as to whether or not a concussion has occurred should always err on the side of caution. Remove that athlete from participation until they can be absolutely certain that he or she is ready to return to play.
We know that when a player has a brain injury, that they tend to have difficulties with memory, particularly short-term memory. They have difficulty with how quickly they process information, how well they can think through problems, how well they can analyze problems, and how they put those all together. We know that those different aspects of brain functioning are affected in concussion.
And so oftentimes the benefit of neurocognitive testing is that it just gives you a little more, one more piece of the puzzle, one more tool in your toolbox.
If your team has the ability to do neurocognitive testing, you absolutely should take advantage of it. When you start off the season and they ask you to do a baseline test, you need to take it very seriously. Because after having a concussion, or what appears to be a concussion, your medical team can perform these neurocognitive tests that will show them how much your reaction time and your memory has changed based on that baseline test.
You know, in sports, we're always trained to be tough and work through our injuries. If you're a little overheated, you keep playing. If you sprain an ankle, just tape it up and keep going. It's completely different when you're dealing with the brain. And when you're dealing with head trauma and concussions, you have to understand there's a course of treatment that you need to follow before you return to the field.
You know, things have changed. Playing in college especially, we all just accepted that getting unintentionally hit in the head was something you just dealt with at that level and kept playing. Now we know more about the dangers associated with head injuries and concussions, and we're taking the time to get evaluated to ensure we're healthy enough to keep playing.
So you have to educate the coaching staff that it's not okay to play with a headache, or that it's not okay to play if someone's had a concussion.
Absolutely, if in doubt, sit them out.
So there you have it, a quick look at concussions in lacrosse. Chances are if you play lacrosse or any sport where contact is involved long enough, you or someone you know will get a concussion. Keep in mind that if these injuries aren't managed and identified, the symptoms can last longer than you expect.
Now you know the signs and symptoms, who to turn to for help, what to expect, and when it's safe to play. Injury is a risk in any sport, but today we know more information than ever before. Let's use the science to our benefit. Take what you've learned today and remember it. Play safe and raise your game.
When in doubt, sit it out.